As a fan of Beyblade growing up until now, one of the best feelings had always been launching a Beyblade. The rush of adrenaline created from such an explosive action always felt unreal. The power created and the awesome energy generated from a launch is what made Beyblade what it is today. However, launching a Beyblade isn't as random as one may think it may be. There's so much skill, control, and technique to be mastered in launches that honestly gets swept under the rug at times, especially if you're just a casual player. In Beyblade, there had always been two types of launches that were specific: attack and passive launches, which passive, of course, would just be normal positioning, and attack would require the most skill out of all of them, the most common being the flower pattern, a launch that, as its name says, creates a flower pattern so that the attack type can hit a Beyblade that is just stalling inside of the middle. But with Beyblade's latest generation on the rise, Beyblade X, everything about launching was redefined and taken up a notch. Rather than having one kind of pattern for an attack launch, for example, we now have 3 or 4 or even 5 types of different launches. It was also similar in Beyblade Burst as well, but X just built launching up even more so. Stamina types also now have their own tech too. But where did this all come from? And how were they created? Before we get into it, make sure to hit that subscription button because we're almost to 4,000 subscribers, you guys, and I couldn't thank you guys enough for all the support you've been giving me, really. So make sure to hit that subscriber button, turn on those alerts to get notified when a new video goes live, and also to get live alerts when we stream some awesome competitive Beyblade battles. But yeah, let's get into it, and let me show you how Beyblade X really reinvented these launches. To start off, we have to look at Beyblade X's stadium, the main area the battles take place in. If we look at how it's designed, the Extreme Rail provides a new way of interaction that not only makes the big moment even bigger, but also allows for unique interactions that players can take advantage of with their techniques. Unfortunately, due to the Extreme Line being the centerpiece of the stadium, the attack launches like the flower pattern and others from previous Beyblade generations could not be replicated. So the Beyblade competitive community took it upon themselves to reinvent launches and create new ones that could best take advantage of this new stadium. And oh boy, did we create something amazing. The insane launches players use in Beyblade X is a reinvention of the wheel type of scenario. Not only do they make battles more dynamic, but truly take advantage of skill. Beyblade X shows how much skill shows in battle as well, since those with beginner launch techniques can get taken advantage of those with skilled launch techniques, or just skilled players in general that can take advantage of those launches. A few techniques that have been discovered also have a huge learning curve, so let's list them out and go over what it takes to begin understanding these amazing launches. And what better way to start off these launches by talking about one of the most important ones, the drop launch. A launch that allows your Beyblade to stall at the top of the B-side stadium and snipe any opponent that decides to take the middle. It's a launch that takes an extreme amount of practice and skill to really get a hold of. In order to pull off this launch, it's best to aim your launcher at the top of B-side and push down to get your Beyblade to do that perfect stall, which if you are really amazing at it, your stall can last for about 4 to 5 seconds, which I believe is the current world record type of stall. I'm not exactly sure if there's a world record, but I'm pretty sure that's the record right now, 5 seconds for a stall. And also, this launch is really geared toward attack type Beyblades. So if you're someone who uses those, I'd suggest learning from this launch. Someone who's also best at this and explains it very well is Mad Maxi on YouTube. So definitely check his channel out if you haven't already. But now we gotta get back to the next launch, the Reverse X Dash. The main launch for stamina types but can be used by any other type of Beyblade as well. Most Beyblades use this technique in order to drain the opponent's stamina while avoiding any huge hits. It's best executed on X side, but with enough skill can be done either way. It's a launch that I personally never really use, unless my attack type Beyblades need to do it. And another person who has mastered this launch is Nizuma Blader, because honestly his reverse X dashes are so clean. So if you haven't checked his channel out too, definitely check him out because he is the GOAT. But moving on to our next launch, it is called the reverse drop, which shares the same fundamentals as the drop launch, except is on the X side instead of the B side. It's a bit harder to pull off than the initial drop launch, but once you have this down, it can counter any opponent who uses the drop launch, and can even counter some opponents who may just take the middle from B side as well. But for our last launch that we're going to go over today, it's one that I actually recently discovered, but I'm choosing this one because it has such a variety of ways to go about countering some of the launches shown before. And this launch is called the reverse drop counter. As the name implies, it's made to counter the drop launch, but also to counter reverse X dashes on X side. It again takes advantage of attack type Beyblades and their power to X dash quickly. It's also best used by the rush bits like low rush and regular rush as well. And you might be seeing a pattern here. There's a lot of flat bits that take advantage of these launches. And you might be wondering, what about the other types of bits that aren't flat or aren't a ball? The sharp type tips so far don't exactly have a one-size-fit-all launch. Needle bits can also do reverse X dashes, but in my opinion, they're best used to just deflect attacks. So sometimes you do want to be in the middle of the stadium if you know you might be going up against an attack type, but you still have to be careful because if you get reverse dropped on, that will be very risky. In my opinion, if you're using a needle bit like UN or even bits like Hexa, I think doing a tilted launch to stall out on the corner is probably your best bet. And honestly, that was only a few launches I was able to mention because there are a plethora of launches in Beyblade X. There's so many to learn and so many to still be discovered, especially with the CX line coming out. They're introducing new bits, new parts, lower parts, so things might change up again and there might be new launches to be able to take advantage of these parts. So I really want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on Beyblade X launches, and do you prefer how they were in previous generations, or do you like how the variety is with Beyblade X? In my opinion, I love Beyblade X launches way more than anything because it really shows how much you have to adapt as a player. And my favorite launch being the drop launch or the counter reverse drop launch or the reverse drop counter. As an attack type player, those are just my bread and butter, so it honestly feels amazing to use them. But I want to hear from you guys too. Comment below, what is your favorite launch in Beyblade X, and are there any that you have discovered for yourself as well? But yeah guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. And if you've watched this far, make sure to check out my Twitch because we're going to be streaming some Beyblade battles there more often, and hopefully more on YouTube as well. So if you guys haven't, definitely check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/JacobPomegranate, and I hope you've been enjoying my content and are sticking around because we got way more things to cover and a lot of time to do so. So yeah guys, I'll catch you guys on the flip side, and make sure to keep on spinning.